What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Raptors Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors and why this one factor will impact the team's success or failure this season. So for today's video, I'm going to be breaking down step by step. I'm going to go into detailed statistics here for you guys. So if you're ready to watch, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Just Brian now. So Just Brian, thank you so much for supporting this channel, to your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Also, guys, I wanted to announce I'm going to be doing a Yahoo Fantasy Draft. It's completely free. I'll be linking it down in the comment section below if you want to join. That'd be awesome as well. But let's talk about the Toronto Raptors. We know they've had a little bit of a disappointing offseason. A lot of people were expecting a Pascal Siakam trade. It looked like a lot of moves were going to be made this offseason, but the Raptors didn't really make any moves, and then they were being linked to Damian Lillard, and then we know what happened there from there on end as well. But the one factor I believe which will impact the Raptors' success this season will be their defense, and I believe their defense is going to be a completely different, not only under Darko, but some of the acquisitions they have acquired this offseason as well. Now, one of the reasons I believe the Raptors will be really good defensively this season is they finally have gotten a center. They have not had a legitimate center since they've lost Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol a few years back. They tried to replace him with Aaron Baines, and we know how that turned out. Now, the Raptors did acquire him at the NBA trade deadline, and we had a really small sample size of what the Raptors look like. And although they missed the playoffs, I went through some of the stats here, and I will be looking at these stats here with how the Raptors fared with Jakob Poeltl and without Jakob Poeltl. So taking a look at the stats here, as you see there, Raptors without Jakob Poeltl played 56 games before they acquired him, allowed 112 points. Opposing field goal percentage for opposing teams was 49%. They were averaging about 42.9 rebounds and 4.6 blocks a game. And in the 26 games the Raptors had Jakob Poeltl, well, they allowed 109 points, which was 3 points less than the 112. The field goal percentage for opponents were actually higher with Jakob there. The rebounding got slightly better, and the blocks remained just about the same. So I know what you're thinking. The opposing field goal opponents were shooting a little bit better with Jakob, and rebounds and blocks didn't necessarily go up that much. So how did Jakob Poeltl exactly help the Raptors? Well, I want to present some stats here because often stats can be misleading, but there are certain stats in this particular case which have helped the Raptors with Jakob Poeltl on the roster. Now, with Jakob Poeltl on the roster, the Raptors did allow opponents to score 3 less points, which may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but taking a look at last season's statistics here, you look at defensive rating, for example. The difference between 3 points is where the Raptors are in the 11th position at 113.11 defensive rating, and pretty much the second best team in the NBA, and their defensive rating at 110.6, which is the Boston Celtics. So although these defensive ratings and points allowed per game may not seem like a huge difference, that is the difference between the 11th ranked team and the second ranked team as well. So I think Jakob has definitely helped the Raptors in many ways. So while he may not be able to stretch the floor, he has definitely helped the Raptors with the rim protection and also just having a physical body and the paint as well. So let's move on to our next factor, which will be a contributing factor to the Raptors defense this season. And the next factor here that will definitely help the Raptors in their defense is Dennis Schroeder. So we know the Raptors had Fred VanVleet the last season, and I want to quickly present some stats here for you guys, because taking a look at the defensive rating in the playoffs for both of Fred and Dennis the last few seasons, or at least the last time the Raptors made the playoffs, as you see there, Fred is at the very top there, and his defensive rating was 118, while Dennis with the Lakers last postseason had a defensive rating of 114. A 4-point differential is huge, and I know there are a lot of different contributing factors to a team's defense, but that is a major, huge difference between 4 points there. Now, I know that NBA playoffs are very important in terms of, half-court offenses, but as we know, defenses win championship, and defense also helps you win a lot of games as well. So that 4-point differential will be huge for the Raptors. They essentially have replaced Fred VanVleet with a very underrated and good defender in Dennis, and he gives the Raptors something they haven't had for quite some time. They have a point guard now in Dennis who is not only very quick on defense, he's fast-footed, and his agility to guard guys like Trae Young and, other guys like Tyrese Maxey will be massive for the Raptors, because let's be honest, Fred wasn't guarding those type of players because he was a little bit slow. He's a different type of defender, pretty much is what I'm saying here. So Dennis, with that foot speed, will allow you to not necessarily, I'm not saying he's going to necessarily stop guys like Trae or Tyrese, but it definitely gives you a more better advantage when you have quicker guards like Dennis on the roster. So I think it's going to be fabulous having him there. He also gets a lot of steals as well, and he'll be a good defender for the Raptors. So let's move on to a very underrated pickup for the Raptors, which I believe will be a very key contributor on the defensive side. Now, when I saw that the Raptors signed this player in the offseason, I was a little bit surprised the 76ers actually let him go, considering they traded for him, but also that the Raptors were able to get him for very cheap. And this is a 3-and-D in Jalen McDaniels. Now, why is this big for the Raptors? There are several factors to note here. First of all is OG Anunoby. The Raptors, obviously, we know they have one of the best 3-and-D players in the NBA, but the issue with OG is he is often injured, and the Raptors haven't really had a player coming off of the bench that can necessarily replace him. Precious did a good job last season, but I think Jalen McDaniels fits that mold in case, OG gets injured, but also just coming off the bench, having two guys that are really good defenders at that 3 position will be massive for the Raptors. I can't recall the last time they had a great defender like Jalen McDaniels at the small forward position coming off the bench. So not only is this good as a potential replacement for OG when OG does get hurt, you also get a defender in Jalen that's going to be doing a tremendous job to back off OG and Anunoby. And there isn't a huge drop off on their defensive side there as well. But also the fact that he's a 6'9" guy, but he can also guard multiple positions. He's very versatile in terms of how he's able to defend different guys. He can guard point guards, power forwards, small forwards, and shooting guards as well. So this gives you another great defender off the bench that can guard multiple positions. And look, how many teams around the NBA can say that they have a 3-and-D player? The Raptors have 2 of them. I know Jalen McDaniels isn't a great 3-point shooter, but just the fact that you have 2 of these guys on your roster is going to be massive for the Raptors. And heck, you can even play both of these guys at the same time. That will be a nightmare for opposing teams when they're trying to get past some of these defenders. It's going to be great to see the Raptors play great on the defensive side, but there are a few more things I quickly want to touch upon before we quickly end this video off here. And that is Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam. Darko has stated that he's going to go 10 players deep in terms of using his bench a lot more than Nick Nurse, and that means reduced minutes for Pascal Siakam, who has been one of the top leading players in the last couple seasons under Nick Nurse in terms of playing minutes per game. Now, this will obviously make a huge difference when he's playing a little bit less minutes, and if preseason is any, indication as to his defense getting a lot better, you definitely can see that. Less minutes for him, more fresh legs. And in terms of Scotty Barnes at the end of the last season came out and stated that he wants his conditioning to be better. And Scotty Barnes better conditioned is going to be scary. He's already a good defender. Him being in better shape is going to be absolutely phenomenal for other, not phenomenal for other teams, but it's going to be phenomenal for the Raptors to have him, do as well as he does on the defensive side. So personally, I'm very excited about the Raptors. I think they have insane potential when you think about their starting lineup of Jakob, Pascal, Scotty, OG, and Dennis. All of them are great defenders. And you know what? I think Darko is changing up their defensive schemes a little bit opposed to what Nick Nurse was doing the last couple seasons, which will switch everything. So it's going to be very interesting. I think this is going to be a clutch factor for the Raptors next season as to factors that will definitely help them win a lot of games. We know they have issues with their offense, not enough floor spacing, but one thing that will definitely help them is their defense. So what are your thoughts on this video? Do you agree with some of the things as stated? Do you think the Raptors will be a great defensive team this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, I do have a trivia question for you today. And that trivia question is, where did the Raptors rank in the NBA in points allowed per game last season? Was it A 10th? Was it B 13th? Was it C 4th? Or was it D 7th? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.